Obtaining 10x rewards. Reincarnated into a novel as a side character. By Winterdragon_1. Chapter 91, Ophelia's Thoughts and Suspicion. Ophelia was now in front of him, her cold and emotionless gray eyes looking into his deep amethyst eyes. They remained fixed in that position for an unknown amount of time, their eyes trying to look into each other as if wanting to discover something inside. Oliver could not bear her emotionless eyes. His heart felt as if it had been gripped tightly by something. Fear? She was beautiful, but he felt her expression looked like that of a psychotic serial killer. Her eyes were dead, or he felt as if they were dead, she looked too scary for some reason. Her head did not even move an inch as she kept staring into him, making him think she was a true psychopath. He glanced at Nadia, who was also frozen in her spot, and her expression was also unnatural at the moment. He knew that she was also scared and could not muster up her courage. He gathered some will and finally spoke, his tone stuttering slightly due to the sudden pressure. "And mother," he said, looking at her eyes, trying to let out a smile, but it crooked up in the end due to the pressure. The word mother felt foreign to him. It had been years since he used it, and even now, he did not feel anything emotional from it. Instead, he felt like he was calling a stranger his mother due to the circumstances. Ophelia blinked her eyes as she heard him. She was not expecting him to even be able to look at her properly. "You have grown up." Her cold voice rang in his ears, and he felt that even her words carried a presence of their own. His spine tingled for some reason when she spoke. She could determine just from looking at him that he had matured more than he looked. Oliver nodded. For some reason, he felt even more pressure on his shoulders than before. He knew that she had increased the pressure on him. Her gray eyes shone as she looked at her struggling son. In an instant, he felt as if he had turned naked, as if all his secrets were laid bare in front of her. He felt helpless as he could only stand and watch. But in the next moment, he saw her eyes showing a sharp glint as she seemed to increase her focus. Is she also unable to see through the abyss energy? This thought came to his mind, and he sneered at her probing. This was good, she wouldn't be able to breach him if that was the case. He was a bit disappointed as there was not much change in her reaction. She didn't show surprise, nor did she show anger or curiosity. Is she even human at this point? Oliver wondered as he looked at her emotionless eyes. He felt that she was a being without a soul. A soulless being. Ugh. It seemed that she could not accept the reality that she was not able to breach the defenses of a rank 1 exorcist. She was not satisfied with the average amount of aspera that Oliver was emitting. Unlike the elders, she knew there was something deeper to this all. After all, she was the one who had seen him the closest when he was born. She was sure that she could never miscalculate or make a mistake in such a matter. Something definitely happened after that. She did not trust anything in her life, nor did she believe what she was seeing with her eyes. Oliver could not help but exclaim at how keen this woman's insight was. She was indeed very cautious. She was clearly able to sense that he had only a so amount of aspera but still insisted on probing him deeper. But what made him angry was that she kept applying more and more pressure on him. It was as if she was toying with him, as if she was experimenting on him. She was trying to test how much more pressure he would be able to take before he gave in and let her enter inside him. Her senses were constantly trying to penetrate deeper and deeper but could not get past the abyss energy. She did not think that there was anything he could use to resist her power, she was simply just too strong. But looking at his struggling expression, a sharp glint passed through her eyes as she slowly increased the pressure even more. The air turned suffocating and cold, and almost all the pressure was now focused mostly on Oliver in the room. Nadia looked at him and closed her eyes. If her mother wanted something from him, then there was no one who could stop her. She simply felt relieved that at least he was not going to be killed. Had her mother wanted him to disappear, there was nothing stopping her. Oliver, who was now facing the tremendous pressure, felt helpless. Even after his breakthrough and the boost, he was still not able to withstand this pressure. He felt that if she increased the pressure some more, he might get crushed into the ground itself. While Oliver was struggling, he did not dare to give in to her attempts. He knew that he must not let her know his true rank, otherwise, there was no way he could avoid getting involved in her schemes. Not only that, he also feared that she might as well brainwash him and make him into her puppet. She wanted a weapon, not a child. He did not know about her end goal, but he was sure of a single thing: she wanted to make the strongest exorcist in the world, be it herself or someone she could control. He must avoid letting any information be known. At least he would try his best, the rest depended on the situation and circumstances. Ophelia, on the other hand, narrowed her eyes. What Oliver and Nadia did not know was that the amount of pressure she was currently releasing was not something any novice exorcist candidate could bear and stand still. The pressure was past the limit of what Oliver should have been able to endure, given the amount of aspera he was showing to the world. She was purposefully releasing enough pressure that only a rank 1 exorcist could bear. Today had been quite the day. First was the phenomenon. She had clearly sensed the gathering of energies being focused near this place. She had sensed the presence of both Nadia and Oliver together at this place. There was no way such a massive phenomenon would occur for no reason, after all. Why was it more concentrated at this place, at this point where the two of them were? And now that she was there, the energies dissipated out of existence or were concealed by someone. Outside the chambers, she sensed Nadia's presence along with another familiar presence she knew from some years ago. What surprised her was his current state. Not only had his physique improved to that of a rank 1 exorcist, but also his eyes. She felt something weird about them. And now when she was trying to sense what was happening inside him through her senses, she was unable to find anything out of ordinary. Her senses could not pass through, something inside him was definitely interfering. She was not sure about it, but there was no other explanation to how he was able to withstand her pressure. She was someone who had long passed through the realms of a normal exorcist. There were things that she could see and others not. Not to mention, the experience she had far surpassed most. Thus she was able to conclude that the reason why she couldn't sense anything extraordinary from him was not that he actually had nothing going on, but instead he was hiding something. Not to mention, he might not have noticed this, but his presence was dimmer than an ordinary child. It was nothing significant, but it was there. No matter what, it was going to be revealed soon. Chapter 92, Intense moment interrupted. It was just her hunch, but there was definitely something going on behind the scenes. She would soon find out. She just had to penetrate him with her senses, and she could know it all: his brain, his body, his aspera. Nothing would escape her eyes. Every bit of information would soon be in front of her. Whether there was really something special about this son of hers or not. Whether she had indeed made a mistake at his birth or not. It would soon become clear. She would devise her next course of actions based on that information. She knew the moment she laid her eyes on him. To peel off his coverings, she tried to probe him, but contrary to her expectations, she was quite puzzled when she could not sense past him. All she could feel around him was a slightly above-average amount of aspera and heightened physical strength. But how, she could not help but ponder. This boy was the useless one when he was born, but today not only did he have aspera but also raw strength. She applied more pressure and continued to probe him. But to her puzzlement, he was doing well under the pressure for a rank 1 exorcist. How was this even possible? She thought for a moment that perhaps his physical strength had crossed the threshold of a rank 1 exorcist, so he was able to endure the pressure. But still, something did not make sense in the back of her mind. She continuously kept increasing the pressure, but he was still able to stand normally and speak. It got to the point where the pressure she was focusing on him was way past the threshold of a newly made rank 1 exorcist's limits. It was well beyond that point. She knew that Nadia had broken through and similarly released only that much amount of pressure initially to test her out. But at this point, her main focus was Oliver. The pressure alone was enough to make almost any rank 1 collapse to their knees. Yet he was still able to maintain his stance. He's hiding something. Her eyes turned even colder when she realized this. He was a creation of hers, and he had no right to hide anything from her. If she had not intended it, he wouldn't have been born. So, he must obey her and never hide anything from her. This was the reality and should be the law for them. She has to teach him who he was and where he stands. Oliver's eyes widened as the pressure suddenly became too much for him. From Ophelia's face, he could not discern a single emotion. It seemed nothing had changed on her face. Why was she so focused on forcing him? Why was she not satisfied after sensing what he was showing? He cursed under his breath, feeling his blood rush to his head as his legs started to shake slightly. His eyes narrowed, and anger welled up in his heart. If push came to shove, he wouldn't care and would use every power he had if necessary. And, he also had that if he wanted to escape far away from this place. Just as she was about to give the final push and crush him completely, an unexpected voice rang out in the chambers. Meow. Underscore 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 underscore. Everyone present in the chambers paused and turned to look at the new arrival. It was a beautiful, pristine white cat. She was calmly sitting at the entrance, looking at their faces. The head judge, who had been kneeling all this while without even daring to move, also looked up. Clan Guardian. Why is she here? Did something happen? His eyes shot open as he saw her. She was an existence that barely showed herself in public. Half of the clan elders had only ever heard about her and never personally met her. It was said that she was a divine existence and could bring fortune to those who received her favor and blessings. He was aware of her identity because he had the fortune to meet her a few times in the past when he was young. Their meetings had always been short, and he had always been accompanied by a group of elders of very high standing and seniority whenever he met her. He had heard rumors that she could read fate by observing the stars in the sky. She was always accompanied by the elites, the founding pillars of the clan whenever he had seen her. She enjoyed a very noble status in the clan. For her to suddenly appear here, what was the reason? It was apparent that she had come for a purpose. Greeting the clan guardian and being in her presence was an honor for him. However, he still did not move from his spot, not an inch. Mistress Ophelia was here. If the clan guardian enjoyed a noble status, then Mistress Ophelia had a royal status. He was not allowed to move unless she ordered him to. Ophelia did not turn around to face the cat. Her eyes were still fixated on her son, Oliver. But when the meow sounded out, Oliver felt the pressure on him lessen significantly. He huffed slightly in relief. Meow. The cat jumped over and landed directly in front of Oliver, in between the mother and the son. Nadia, on the other hand, was utterly confused at the moment. A white cat? What was a cat doing here? She had read about cats but never seen one in real life, so it was also her first time seeing one so close in person and not in pictures and books. But how did a cat enter the clan? The clan had a barrier that repelled or prevented the entry of anything unauthorized inside. So it puzzled her how this cat appeared. She did not find it abnormal that a cat could jump so high and land so carefully and precisely between her brother and mother. She believed it might be how cats were, nothing more, nothing less. She assumed many theories in an instant. It was possible that a merchant had brought her from outside using special permissions to be sold in the clan market. Or it was possible that an alchemist asked for the cat to experiment on. There were many possibilities. But her heart could not thump any louder when she realized that her mother had been interrupted. She felt nothing as she thought about how the cat was going to die. If possible, she would have liked to touch it before its death, but she could do it after it died as well. The main thing right now was what her mother wanted from Oliver. For some reason, her heart was not calm at all when she saw him quivering earlier. She had hoped that their mother would let him leave now that she had been interrupted by the cat. If the cat could be sacrificed to divert her mother's attention, then so be it. Unknowingly, Nadia had already marked the clan guardian as good as dead. In her eyes, she felt that the best use for the cat would be to become a sacrifice so that Oliver could leave from here. Chapter 93, Rewarding the Good Cat. Meow. The cat meowed at Ophelia, whose focus had now shifted from Oliver to the cat instead. She narrowed her eyes as she calmly observed the cat, who was waving her tiny paws at her and then at Oliver, as if indicating something. Oliver looked at the clan guardian and felt speechless. What was she trying to say? Ophelia observed the cat. She was naturally aware of her identity. She glanced back at him, her eyes flickering briefly as if she were contemplating many things. A look of comprehension spread across her face, as if she had just pieced together a hidden puzzle. A sinister glint flickered in her eyes, unnoticed by anyone except the clan guardian. What could Ophelia be plotting now? Her mind raced with possibilities, each more chilling than the last. The cat knew that gaze. Ophelia was scheming something terrible. Her heart could not help but sink. She knew now Ophelia was already developing plans involving Oliver. The clan guardian had seen countless schemers and politicians, but none could even compete with this emotionless woman. Even she herself could never understand her actions. But one thing the cat knew was that every action of Ophelia brought cruelty. One crueler than the other. She was that dangerous, but unfortunately, as the clan guardian, she did not have the power or authority to oppose her. Ophelia was way stronger than her, after all. Was protecting Oliver worth the potential backlash? The clan guardian pondered, weighing her loyalty against the situation. She was already going beyond her bounds by shielding Oliver here. It might even risk her dearly in the future too. Whatever it was, now that she has decided, she cannot back off. But she had no choice. Oliver's case was just that special and sensitive. She could not allow Ophelia's shadow to fall on him. Otherwise, with his powers, he might become the worst threat to this world under Ophelia's influence. Meow. The cat meowed and looked at Ophelia in her eyes. Her actions conveyed a simple message to her. He's under my protection. Leave now. Of course, Ophelia was not obligated to follow the clan guardian's words, but in that moment, she did something unexpected. She looked over at Nadia and called out, "Follow me." After throwing a glance in her son's direction, she left the chamber. What did that final glance mean? Oliver couldn't shake off the feeling that it was a silent warning. The clan guardian had expected Ophelia to ignore her and use force, but, as always, Ophelia was unpredictable. Ophelia knew that since the clan guardian had so, this meant that his abnormal growth and the mysterious incident was all being watched by the clan guardian. She's definitely going to plan something. It seems that I need to rush my plan before something happens. Zippy sighed as she thought of the risky plan in her mind. It cannot be delayed now. Just as she was in her thoughts, Oliver picked her up from behind. Zippy, why did you come here? Didn't I ask you to go home and wait for food? He asked with a smile. The clan guardian had proven herself to be quite useful today. He had always thought that she was there for his rations, but unexpectedly, she had helped him not once but twice today. The head judge looked at him, his eyes popping out of his sockets as he saw this kid casually pick up the esteemed clan guardian and pet her. This level of disrespect. But he seemed to know the cat, and the clan guardian also did not seem to mind. More like, she did not even reveal her identity here. A thought crossed his mind as he wondered if the clan guardian did not wish for her identity to be exposed. He was quite confused. First, it was Mistress Ophelia who was pressuring this kid for some reason, but then the clan guardian arrived, and for some reason, Mistress Ophelia left directly. What was up with this kid? Things were definitely not simple. For two of the clan's supreme existences to arrive at a single place and meet a single kid, and that too right after that earlier phenomenon in the sky. Was that related to him? He remembered how Oliver had disappeared just before the incident and how he returned just after the phenomenon was over. Could Oliver be linked to the mysterious event? The head judge's curiosity grew more. He secretly made a note to investigate more later. Underscore 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 underscore. After everyone left, Oliver said to the cat, "Today, I will make something delicious. I remember purchasing meat. The worried cat's ears perked up when she heard this, and her eyes started to twinkle. She pounced on him, and Oliver caught her and left the chambers as well. He needed some time to familiarize himself with his newfound powers and the things he was now able to do. He was relieved that he saved himself from getting his cover blown fully in front of her. She would have 100% brainwashed him into an emotionless, lifeless, colorless killing machine had she realized his true potential now. He knew that if that happened, there would be no point in living a life. Upon arriving at his courtyard, he directly headed to the kitchen. The cat deserved a treat. Setting aside training for a while, he was quite hungry as all he ate in the forest was some fruits and seeds. It did not satisfy him at all. He used the meat available on the shelves. The world had different sorts of meats that he was initially not familiar with, but after some time, he started to like the taste of the fantasy meat. Each cut of meat seemed to hold its own elegance, flavors waiting to be discovered. Oliver's knife moved with practiced ease, slicing through the interesting textures. But since he was hungry, he focused on preparing a small meal first for himself and the cat. Over the months, his cooking skills had improved significantly as he cooked for himself rather than relying on the maids. Soon, a small meat-based meal suitable for two was prepared. It was an afternoon meal. It was stewed rump eaten with bland bread. The rump was naturally strong in flavor, it was just barely seasoned with strong oils, and eaten with fish. The fish was properly seasoned with herbs and salts. It was just the right amount. Meow. The cat jumped up and down as the aroma filled the room. This was the best time. Due to Oliver's participation in the demon hunt, she had not tasted this cooking for a long time. Now she was ready to devour it all. Good treat. Chapter 94, Mind Space. A spy? Just like that, a few weeks passed as everyone settled back into their lives. The phenomenon was roughly rounded up as well since no one was able to find the cause or reason for it. The clan guardian was questioned by a group of worried elders, but she didn't tell anything useful and only dropped vague sentences. The head judge, who had some clues that it was regarding Oliver, also investigated more, but in the end, after a few months of continuous investigation, he could not find anything. He knew that Mistress Ophelia surely knew something as well, but he did not dare to tell the other elders about that. He wouldn't even know how he died the next day. Mistress Ophelia kept her private affairs private. No one was allowed to talk about her and any action she took unless provided permission by her personally. He could only drink his frustrations and silently observe Oliver. He didn't dare get too close to him either, the clan guardian was with him, and he didn't want to offend her. Underscore 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 underscore. In one of the courtyards, Oliver was sitting cross-legged, and in front of him were multiple empty vials that once contained various expensive potions. From vitality-enhancing potions to aspera-strengthening potions. He had gulped down all of them. He was getting used to handling the large amount of aspera. So this is abyss energy. He thought in his head as his hand was suddenly coated in a dark blackish red hue. The energy was potent and pulsing with dread and power. It is stronger than aspera. On his other hand, a colorless energy flowed out. It was gentle and completely still. It was his aspera. He had already managed to completely stabilize it thanks to the enhanced talent he now had. Not to mention, after his monthly allowance had increased twofold, he was able to spend his time in luxury as well. He could buy any potion he wanted in the clan market without batting an eye or get any weapon he had wanted without worrying about the cost. With the help of multiple potions, he was able to suppress his aspera and coordinate his increased physical strength as well. His body was also now full of energy. He gazed at his now improved body analysis. Underscore 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 underscore. Name, Oliver Mystic. Race, human. Status, rank 1. Strength, level 5. Aspera, level 4. Abyss energy, level 3. Charisma, level 3. Luck, level 4. Underscore 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 underscore. In the weeks he had been sorting out the unknown knowledge he had received when his body became an abyss circuit. He had managed to make 2 clusters in his mind, one that he had some idea about, and the other cluster carried the knowledge that was too complex for his current level to even comprehend. It seemed that he had now become a creature of abyss, thus gaining resistance against any sort of divinities. He smiled. Although this meant that he might never be able to access divine energy, it was good because he had abyss energy, something very difficult to obtain. He closed his eyes, and the next moment he opened them, he was in a pitch-black space. Everything here was pitch black. It was his mind space. Something he was able to access after he became a circuit of abyss. He gazed down at himself, and his entire body had turned white. In the whole dark space, he alone was the whitest thing. His whole body had turned featureless, and he was like a being with nothing but a white-colored form. No face, nothing. From head to toe, everything was featureless and pure white. The space was quite large and wide. It was unknown where it ended, but he could sense it was limited. From the knowledge he had acquired, he knew that as long as he grew stronger, it should expand likewise. The abyss energy was low in quantity, but it was quite potent nonetheless. His gaze wandered in the black space before landing on some weapons that were casually lying around. With the advantage of having a mind space, he had cancelled the need to have a storage ring as he could directly store his belongings in the mind space, which was countless times safer than any storage ring. Of course, he still purchased a storage ring in order to let others know that he was not an abnormality and used the storage ring to get his items. The clan is indeed generous when they recognize you. He thought as he gently touched the ring on his finger. These rings were very expensive, and even with his monthly allowance, he was hesitant to buy one. But fortunately, the clan gifted him one a few days after that incident. He suspected that the head judge was involved in him receiving this ring, considering how he was the sole witness to what happened in the chambers and had authority over other elders for such tasks. No matter what, the ring was empty, and everything from the good quality weapons that he had purchased to potions was now all stored inside his mind space. He came out of his mind space and got up. He could finally feel the aspera and overflowing energy. His water element had never been more active. He could feel its force and effect increase multiple times as well. I can start to get creative with the element now. Earlier, it had been pretty much difficult for him to utilize the water element for anything other than a small water ball, but now things were no longer the same. He stood up. At the moment, he was in the secret spot behind his courtyard surrounded by trees. It was a hot day, and he was sweating buckets, so he packed things up and went back to the courtyard. Upon reaching the courtyard, he was greeted by an unexpected voice that was not there before and he was not used to. "Welcome back, young master." A woman in a maid uniform bowed as she used a towel to quickly help him wipe the sweat. He stopped her and did it on his own as he glanced at the woman. This woman was a spy. Chapter 95, Joint Training? A program? She was the new personal maid assigned to him after the event. He felt that the main reason she was here was to spy on him. The head judge must be quite anxious after seeing the clan guardian, so he directly called out to one of his subordinates to keep an eye on him. "I cannot sense her rank at all." Oliver secretly shook his head. This woman was clearly a strong exorcist but was now role-playing as a maid. The head judge truly was meticulous in his preparations. The woman had long black hair and champagne-colored eyes. She was tall and beautiful, and her expression was professional. For the week since she had come to serve under him as a personal maid, his chores were directly eliminated. From laundry to cooking to shopping, she did everything before he even had the need to. He exclaimed when he was going to cook, but the maid stopped him from doing that, stating it was below him as the young master of the clan to do chores like that. He could not help but snicker at that time. Where was this dignity when he was alone? The behavior of others has also improved considerably since the demon hunt events news spread out. They no longer ignored him and even treated him with respect. His courtyard, which had earlier been ignored, was now tended to regularly by a team of gardeners and servants. Not to mention, there were now guards stationed around the area. This feels more like a restriction than a privilege to me. He could not help it. After all, he was used to living alone with a lot of freedom. But there were some advantages to the situation as well, since he was able to access the places in the central area which he was previously not allowed entry to. Young master, your clothes have been prepared and the bath water has been prepared as per your preferences. The maid said in a calm tone. Her name was Sesha. Sesha Buer. Oliver could not help but feel that the surname Buer was familiar to him, but he could not remember where he had heard of it. It was definitely in the novel, but where? He pressed his head as he thought about it, but nothing rang a bell. It had been years since he read that novel. He had a good memory thanks to being born with the blood of strong exorcists and the aspera in the atmosphere making his brain more functional. But still, he was not able to tell when this name was mentioned. Since he could not remember it, he had been keeping a distance from her. He was not sure if the name was associated with demonic forces or exorcists. Nonetheless, she was dangerous, and he was wary of her. He nodded at her and went inside to bathe. Today was a somewhat special day. He was going to meet with children from the other 5 clans for the first time. Not only that, he was going to lead the clan for the first time in his life. He suddenly recalled the brief meeting he had with an elder from the clan after the demon hunt some days ago. Underscore 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 underscore. Say again? You. The elder's eyelids twitched fiercely when he heard the boy's words. He had just explained everything, but this brat was still asking for him to repeat everything again. He could not help but be frustrated. Calm down, elder. It was just an expression, the boy smiled gleefully, looking at the frustrated elder. So basically, to summarize, the 5 great clans have agreed to familiarize their children with each other and train under a joint program for the ones with potential together due to the looming threat of demons that could start a war at any moment? The boy summarized what he heard. That's right, the elder nodded, you finally get it. Of course, the boy smiled. And among the children selected, my name was also chosen due to the results of the demon hunt? The elder paused briefly and explained. Out of the clan's main heirs, you and Miss Nadia have been selected for this. Your age and talent match the best with the other candidates selected by the other 5 clans. It's a great honor. Be respectful that the higher-ups considered you in the first place. The elder's eyes almost bulged out of their sockets when he saw the ungrateful expression the boy was making. He almost had the urge to beat him up, but he refrained. The boy who was sitting opposite the elder stretched his hands and folded them back behind his head as a pondering look appeared on his face. His silver hair flowed against the wind as he stared at the sky. What a coincidence. From all the 5 pairs of twins, how is it possible that Nadia and I were the ones selected? I don't think the 3rd brother and sister are much older than us. The elder could not endure it and stood up, saying in a loud tone. You bastard dash. Do you think we deliberately put your name forward? Do you dare believe that I won't break your legs here right now for doubting the supreme elders? The elder, who clearly had a short temper, looked at the lazy boy with anger as he further added. After what you did to the 3rd pair of siblings. Do you still believe they are worthy enough to join this program? Those useless brats who couldn't even handle a single brat with no aspera. Do you believe that? The boy hurriedly corrected his posture and put his hands forward as he said in a calm tone. Whoa, elder. Calm down, I never said I doubted the decision of your superiors. I am a proud heir of the Mystic Purge clan. How can I be so ungrateful, right? His eyes curved into a smile. If you have thought about it, then there must be a reason why I was selected. I will honor the wishes of my esteemed elders and definitely participate and establish dominance in front of the other children from the other clans. The elder visibly calmed down as he heard the boy's words. It seemed he was the one being more flustered. The elder sighed and looked at the laid-back boy. He still could not understand why he was suddenly selected either. Chapter 96, The Taste of Luxury. If you have thought about it, then there must be a reason why I was selected. I will honor the wishes of my esteemed elders and definitely participate and establish dominance in front of the other children from the other clans. The elder visibly calmed down as he heard the boy's words. It seemed he had been too impatient and misjudged the boy earlier. By the way, elder, I was curious about something. He looked the elder in the eyes. Did mother agree to this as well? The elder narrowed his eyes when he mentioned the word mother. Of course, Mistress Ophelia gave us permission. That's why I said this was a big honor to be a part of this. The boy nodded with a solemn expression and asked, what preparations do I need to make? Nothing for now. We will tell you the date when we will be leaving. The first meeting will be a brief introduction between you kids to familiarize yourselves with each other and gain an understanding of your rivals. You will be trained personally by professionals. Establish the dominance of the clan. Miss Nadia has already been informed. You only need to support her and help her establish the clan's dominance. He informed the kid, who calmly nodded. Then I'll be waiting for the day. With that, the boy was left alone. After the elder left, he could not help but laugh to himself. Finally, I can leave this clan for once, ha ha ha. The boy was naturally none other than Oliver. Underscore. After taking a comforting bath in his private pool, he quickly dressed up. He wore a designer kimono specifically tailored for him. It was black in color, a contrast to his silver hair. Not only that, but these clothes were quite expensive as they were made of rare materials. After all, he was supposed to meet others from the 5 great clans that had been there since the Mystic Purge clan was founded. The clothes he wore even had a special property to remain fragrant. He came out of his courtyard and looked at the fat cat lying inside after eating 2 servings of large meals. He sighed, this cat was so lazy. She seemed to be getting fat slowly, as he had expected. He could not help but wonder about the program that the elder had mentioned to him. There was no such program or details about training in such a way in the novel. He wondered if it was a behind-the-scenes thing but discarded that notion too. He felt suspicious of this fat cat in front of him too. How come his name was selected out of all of his siblings? Surely, it couldn't be due to the fact that they were twins that they were selected. If I remember correctly, the first pair of siblings should be in the institute right now, so it's understandable that they weren't selected. Oliver shook his head. He threw one last glance toward the lazy cat. He might be thinking too much in the end. How could this fat cat be behind his name getting selected? She should be smart enough not to repeat herself after the last incident, no? He nodded to himself as he looked at the cat who woke up from her sleep and looked at him with lazy eyes. She waved her paw at him as if saying goodbye. Oliver ignored her and left toward the exit of his courtyard, where his personal maid in uniform was standing. Behind her was a car, a modern invention of this world, mainly used for transportation. The car had a sleek and aerodynamic shape with an organic, almost living appearance. The design on the car was carefully made as well. The car had an intricate lattice of vines and leaves etched on its surface that glowed from time to time, suggesting its connection to natural elements. It had 4 large crystalline wheels. These wheels glowed with a soft light and could adapt their shape to provide optimal traction on any terrain. The engine was nothing but a core powered using fire-attributed aspera, ensuring great speed and a smooth experience. He could not help but take a deep breath as he gazed at the luxurious car. He knew from a glance that it was far better than those ordinary cars used in normal human cities. This car definitely showed the wealth and power of one of the 5 great clans. He knew that it must belong to the elder who was going along with them. The maid looked at his stunned face and elegantly bowed with a stoic expression, as if the car behind her was not worth her attention. "Young master, the car is ready, please," she said as she slowly opened the door for him to enter. Oliver quickly entered the car and was again pleasantly surprised. The interior was way more spacious than it looked from outside. He could notice some glowing runes carved inside that were most likely used to expand the space within. The seats inside were made out of special leather, making them incredibly soft and magically adjustable to provide perfect comfort and support to the occupant. Not to mention, the interior was also lined with luminous moss that provided a soft amber light, giving a warm and natural feeling. To communicate and issue commands to the driver, there was a dashboard made out of a crystal orb to work as the central unit that helped display information and drive using the thoughts of the driver with Aspera. His head was filled with the thought of owning such a car in the future. It was way better than any car he had ever sat inside. Not only that, in his previous life, due to his eye problems, he was very limited in driving. But now, he could drive freely and as much as he wanted to. He looked at the corner and saw an elder sitting in front of the dashboard, probably communicating with the driver. He did not speak much and quietly sat in one corner of the car. His maid soon followed inside. "She's also tagging along?" His eyes narrowed as he saw her sitting in front of him. "Young master, if you need anything, do let me know," she said, looking at him. He nodded and shifted his focus to the runes. Although he was not able to comprehend these runes, he knew there were many of them all around the car, serving different functions and features. Some of them must be for shielding purposes as well in case someone tried to attack the moving car. The car moved. If not for the windows, he wouldn't even have realized it was moving due to how smooth it was. A few minutes later, from the window, he saw the car stopping near a familiar courtyard. It was Nadia's courtyard. Soon enough, she emerged out wearing a plain but elegant kimono. She was brimming with a heavy aura around her, possibly due to the fact that she had stabilized herself after the recent breakthrough to rank 1. The Aspera around her was calm and still, and her expression was also serene. Coupled with that outfit, she looked like a princess truly. The door opened as she too got inside, only to pause in her tracks when she noticed the unfamiliar individual. Chapter 97, She Lost Control. Abyssal being? "Welcome, young miss." The maid opened the door for her as she got in, and the elder also greeted her politely. "Hey." He waved at her. She was wearing a pale red-colored kimono and looked like a true lady from a rich clan. She raised her brow, ignoring Oliver. Her eyes went up to the new woman. "Who is she?" She narrowed her eyes as she tried to gauge the woman. She had made clothes. Oliver saw this and quickly interrupted, introducing them to each other. "She's Sesha, my new personal maid." The elders were feeling generous and decided to assign her to me. The calm maid also looked at Nadia for a moment and bowed. "Greetings, young miss. I am Sesha Buer, young master Oliver's personal maid and attendant. Feel free to ask for my assistance. I'll do my best to aid you." Nadia's eyes didn't stop looking at the woman. In that very instant, her eyes shone with a mysterious glint. As her eyes darkened, she activated her special vision. "She's strong." That's what she quickly concluded after seeing the tremendous amount of Aspera radiating out of her. However, her eyes did not stop as she started to see an extremely dark red aura inside the car. She moved her head, following the trail of energy, and as her eyes landed on Oliver, they could not help but tremble. Right beside her, he was sitting calmly while looking at her with curious eyes. But what she was seeing was completely different in that instant. At that moment, instead of the normal lazy Oliver, she saw something else, something dreadful. Instead of the normal Oliver that she was used to seeing, there was no trace of him, or his humane self. But rather, what was in front of her eyes was a pitch black being oozing with a very darkish red energy. The figure seemed to absorb all light around it, creating a void of absolute darkness. The pitch-black body had no discernible features, only an endless abyss that made her feel as if she was staring into the depths of a nightmare. This sinister presence was so intense that it felt as if the very air was being sucked into the blackness, leaving a vacuum of suffocating dread around him. The dark red energy pouring out of him was not just a glow but a thick, pulsating essence that seemed alive. It oozed from every inch of his form, flowing like a malignant fog. This energy was a deep, repulsive crimson, swirling with malevolence and dread. It moved with a slow, menacing life of its own, creating a vile miasma that threatened to consume everything in its path. The Aspera did not even dare to approach the thick miasma as if fearing getting consumed by it. It was as if the world itself refused to acknowledge his existence, a sinister void that repelled all life and light. The sight was overwhelmingly terrifying. A raw, primal fear gripped her chest. The dark red energy seemed to seep into her very soul, filling her with a paralyzing horror that made it difficult to even think. The once familiar face of Oliver was gone, replaced by this featureless, pitch-black figure that radiated nothing but malice and despair. The being was the definition of primal fear. The sight of him, the feel of that dark energy, made her feel as if she was teetering on the edge of an endless abyss, one wrong step away from being swallowed whole by the darkness. Nadia could feel her heart racing uncontrollably, the blood pounding in her ears as she struggled to maintain her composure. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to get away from this nightmarish being, but she was frozen in place, trapped by the sheer terror of the sight before her. Her eyes were starting to turn misty. Oliver, on the other hand, looked at her confusedly, wondering what she was staring at so intensely. He felt awkward as he saw her dead serious eyes as if she was boring a hole into him. Just as he was about to say something to lift up the suddenly heavy atmosphere, he saw a flash of silver right before his eyes. His hand moved automatically due to the constant training with weapons he had been doing, and his new strength worked into action as he blocked. His hand caught the body of a sharp silver sword that was aimed at his head. His instincts were sharper than before. His eyes widened suddenly as he saw Nadia attacking him out of nowhere with her sword. Had he not reacted in time, she would have already slashed off his head. Hiss! He winced in pain as he could feel the sharpness of the high-quality sword slowly cutting through his hand like slicing through butter. He quickly looked at her and noticed that her eyes seemed to have lost focus for some reason. Before he could guess what was even happening, his hand started to burn in pain as the sword cut through his flesh. Dash! Before he could push her away, the maid in front of them reacted and dragged Nadia away from Oliver. She had a surprised look on her face when she saw how young Miss Nadia nearly tried to kill her young master in an instant for no reason. It was too out of the blue. She narrowed her eyes as Nadia resisted her grip, but she still maintained it nonetheless. Due to the difference in strength, she was able to suppress her easily. Oliver gasped in relief and quickly retrieved a healing potion from his mind space, starting to quickly gulp it down. The pain in his hand started to dull as his skin began to mend itself back to how it was before. He looked at her struggling expression and realized her problem. Just now, she must have used her special eyes to look through them. But because of the presence of abyss energy, she lost her focus and attacked him due to the instinctive fear. He frowned. She was able to see through it, and it had such an adverse effect on her. These special eyes of hers were called abyss eyes, so it seemed that they had the capability to see his abyss energy. Due to him becoming a circuit of abyss, he was sure his body had turned into something inhuman, some sort of abomination. This could explain her exaggerated reaction as well. But now the problem was how to get her back to normal? Chapter 98, Suppressing Her. Arriving at the destination. Due to him becoming a circuit of abyss, he was sure his body had turned into something inhuman, some sort of abomination. He shuddered at the thought, feeling the cold, creeping dread of the abyss still lingering on his skin. He himself had witnessed the creatures of abyss, albeit for a very short moment, but all of them were extremely repulsive and deadly. Their twisted forms and piercing gazes haunted his thoughts, leaving him with a deep-seated revulsion that he couldn't shake off. He was not able to sleep well for some days due to nightmares. He could understand that she must have seen something similar instead of his humane self. He realized the fear she must have felt, seeing him as one of those grotesque beings rather than the guy she knew. Those grotesque beings served him a reminder of the abyss he now belonged to. It was no wonder she recoiled. He looked at her and activated cosmic void gaze, looking at her seriously, as if trying to suppress her with his aura alone. His eyes met hers, a palpable tension filled the air, as if the very fabric of reality trembled under the weight of his gaze. The effect was instant as she slowly stopped struggling, and her eyes seemed to be gaining clarity back. The fog of confusion lifted slowly, replaced by a flicker of recognition and uncertainty. Oliver's eyes were an evolved version of hers, so naturally, he was able to do this. Although it was just a try, he did not expect it to work in first try. Was this also associated with the luck level? As Nadia slowly gained clarity, her eyes turned confused as she looked around and behind at the maid who was now holding her arms. "You guys. Be quiet and let me focus," the elder shouted from the front as the haziness in her mind slowly cleared. She yanked her hand away, and the maid let her go after noticing the shift in her behavior. She knew something strange had happened just now. At one instance, she was attacking him, and now after Oliver looked at her once, she calmed down. But she could not tell what. Nadia looked around, and confusion was visible on her face. What happened and why was she being held by the maid like this? She could not remember it. What happened just now? She strained her mind but could not recall. "Are you good?" A concerned voice sounded beside her. She turned her head around and looked at Oliver when a sharp pain assaulted her head as she started to remember the bits and pieces of the incident that had transpired just a moment prior. She looked at the sword thrown beside her, and there were droplets of red blood coating the shiny body of the weapon. The metallic scent of blood mixed within the fresh earthy air lingered near her. Her mood turned sour. Not only had she attacked him so suddenly like this despite him not doing anything, but she also showed such irrational behavior in front of him. She looked at him with a sullen face and distanced herself away, sitting in the corner opposite to him. A heavy silence enveloped them. She seemed to be feeling guilty, the weight of her regret could be felt through air. He sighed. Just earlier, he almost didn't see the sudden sword coming toward his head. Had his instincts not worked at the correct time, he could have suffered very serious injuries. It was his luck that he managed to avoid it. He secretly praised the power of level 4 luck in his mind. He was lucky that his instincts and hands moved at the correct time to prevent a fatal injury. Luck or fate, he wasn't sure, but the narrow escape left his heart pounding in his chest. It was still beating wildly. He looked at Nadia. He did not know what to do as he saw her glancing at him from time to time with a mix of wariness and curiosity evident in her expressions. She was definitely wondering right now about what she saw and if it was right, then how was it possible, and all sorts of questions. Oliver refrained from talking to her for the moment since he did not have answers for her. Instead, he looked at his maid who was also observing him. So she's strong enough to subdue Nadia without any problems. Oliver knew he couldn't be careless with this maid. He was mostly conspicuous with his activities, but who knows when she might be watching him. The elder driving the car seemed to have not noticed the small commotion from before. Or even if he did, he intentionally ignored it. He looked at his clothes, and fortunately, they were not stained with blood, or else it would have put a bad impression on others considering this was his first meeting. The rest of the journey was in silence as Nadia did not speak, and Oliver, who did not want to be questioned, did not take the initiative either. The maid, well, she was quite interested in knowing what had happened and the reason why Nadia attacked him. But she was role-playing as a maid at the moment, and a mere maid was not an authority to know about things her master had not permitted her to ask. She was sure that something was amiss there. The always calm and composed genius Nadia would not suddenly attack someone like this, after all. Oliver was also aware that she could not see them using special eyes on each other, and he did not intend to tell her either. "We're here." These words suddenly cut through the tension, drawing their focus to the windows. The elder announced in a serene tone, prompting the attention of the occupants of the car. Oliver felt a small tremble as the car stopped. The maid was quick to react and opened the door for him. Whoa! What he saw in front of him was a lush green forest. No, they were inside a dense green forest. The elder who also got out said, "This is where the young heirs of the 5 clans will be meeting. This is a secluded sanctuary made by the clans. It is impossible to locate without prior information. Not only that, this sanctuary is protected by a powerful barrier." The elder pointed at the towering ancient trees and the lush greenery as he further added, "This place is quite old and not used as much as it used to be before. The clans shifted their meeting locations long ago, but it still exists and used to be the place where powerful exorcists of the past would meet and discuss important matters. Oliver looked at the trees, and they did seem quite ancient. They were tall and almost covering his view of the sky. "So this place serves as a neutral spot for the clans?" he questioned. "That's right. Although it is now not the official meeting place anymore, it is still regularly maintained by the guardian spirits." Guardian spirits? Oliver's ears perked up. He had heard of them before but did not expect this place to have them. "Now, follow me. I will be leading you to the meeting spot." Oliver could not help but feel excited as he walked behind. It was finally time to meet them. Chapter 99, Meeting the main protagonist for the first time. "Now, follow me. I will be leading you to the meeting spot." The trio followed behind the elder as he took some turns, and in a few minutes, they could finally see the place. It was like the heart of this forest, a clearing surrounded by the towering trees whose intertwined branches formed a natural canopy above. The air felt charged with an ancient energy, as if the forest itself was alive and watching them. Ancient-looking stones carved with runes of unknown origin were placed strategically, forming a round table and chairs. Further behind the table, they could also see moss-covered altars and statues, remnants of the past when this place was used frequently. Oliver's eyes were drawn towards the table and chairs. It was a gathering grove. The soft glow of bioluminescent flora and the melodic chirping of unseen birds gave the atmosphere a touch of tranquility and peace. His eyes wandered as he spotted others already seated around the table. "So we're the last to arrive." He noticed the respective elders who had brought the heirs with them in the corner. The meeting is not simple. He knew this beforehand. First of all, there was the main goal of the meeting, which was some joint training program. It was said that due to the demons' increasing activities, they wanted to quickly nurture the talents in the younger generation and produce more powerhouses for the future war. They all knew that the war was going to happen sooner or later. There was no stopping it, and this war was going to be more violent than the previous one. So they decided that it was best to prepare their talented youths faster. But Oliver knew that for the meeting to happen so suddenly, the other clans must be curious about the void cloud phenomenon that happened some time ago. The elder must have come here in order to make deals for information or clarify matters. He glanced at Nadia from the corner of his eye as she was also looking at the other children with an emotionless gaze. She walked up to the gathering grove as he followed behind her. He could feel all the gazes on him and her. "Hey!" He waved at the other children since he didn't know how to interact with them for the first time. They all had varying personalities. He soon received a curt response. First was a guy with short dark blue hair and blue eyes. He put a hand over his chest as he greeted back. "Good morning, Sir Oliver. I am Alfonso Jadesons from the Fallen Heart clan. You can call me Alfonso." His tone was polite, and his behavior was proper like a noble. He was taught well and had good etiquette, not to mention he was dressed in a formal suit for this meeting. "Pleased to meet you. You can call me Oliver too," Oliver also told him. Since the other party was willing to have informal relations with him, who was he to reject? He couldn't help but compare this little gentleman to a thoughtful scholar. He then heard another voice. This time it was a kid dressed in a simple shirt and pants. "I am from Sacred Swords clan. You can call me Daniel." Oliver glanced at the boy and noticed his features. His body was notably sleek. He had shoulder-length, wavy hair of black color. His droopy eyes were the color of golden jewels. He nodded and also told him to be informal with him. Afterwards, it was a girl with narrow eyes of olive green color. She had long ankle-length, apple-green hair, her physique was athletic, and she had a pouting mouth. "I am Amber from the Blue Crown clan," she briefly said, somewhat coming off as aloof. Oliver did not mind. He could understand that she might be awkward with others. He gave her a reassuring smile, hoping to ease her discomfort. And finally, his gaze automatically went towards the last occupants. What a coincidence it was that the other party was also twins. His eyes focused sharply as he observed one of the two girls in front of him. The protagonist has finally appeared. His heart pumped blood and excitement. He was finally meeting the main protagonist of this world. He was face to face with her. Greetings. I am Bella, and here's my little sister Evelyn. We're from the Celestial Paradox clan. The girl introduced herself and her little sister. She had platinum blonde hair falling to her shoulders like a cascading waterfall and a very confident aura. The lady reminded him of the famous character he had read in the novel. He knew her by her nickname from the novel. The Unstoppable Machine. She had slanted gray eyes that were like 2 silver coins. Her fine, wavy, alabaster hair was medium length, and she wore a hairpin that was not actually a hairpin but a destructive artifact disguised as a hairpin. She had a cream-colored healthy skin tone and a tall, athletic build. She was the tallest in the group of children too. Of course, she was not the main protagonist. Her little sister was. Oliver was immediately drawn to her, considering her radiant appearance and features. Her long golden locks cascaded down her back like streams of sunlight, each strand catching the light and radiating with a brilliance that seemed holy. Her hair danced around her like a halo, framing her delicate features with an ethereal glow. But it was her eyes. It was her eyes that truly caught everyone's attention. Her eyes were a shade of velvet, like the color of a deep, velvety rose in full bloom. They were glowing with an inner light, a warm aura surrounding her. It was as if her very soul radiated purity and strength. It was those same eyes that drew demons to her like moths to a flame only to perish. Coupled with her golden hair, she truly had the main protagonist aura to her. An attractive appearance like any other protagonist. She had a healthy, milky white skin tone and was dressed in a coat of midnight blue over a pristine white shirt. She looked like an aristocrat. Despite her tender age, she had the air of an elegant lady. A beacon of light in a world consumed by darkness. Haha. Oliver could not help but feel extremely excited. No matter what, he was going to bond with her. She was the main protagonist who had yet to achieve considerable strength. There was no way he was going to miss this opportunity. Chapter 100, Alfonso's Doubt. Looking at the awkward girl, he couldn't help but think about the childhood of the protagonist mentioned in the novel. She was a normal rich heiress in her childhood and lived in the shadow of her big sister, always behind her back. But all it took was a devastating incident, and everything changed for her forever. The main reason why she bore the unlimited hatred towards demons rooted from that incident. He sighed and shook his head. Looking at the excited yet stoic faces of the children, he knew half of them would not be the same in the future. Oliver, right? The elder sister of the protagonist, named Bella, called out. Yes, Miss Bella? Ah, you don't need to use titles with me or my sister. You can talk to us normally too. We are here to get to know each other after all, she said. Oliver nodded. All right, I will call you Bella from now on, Anne. He looked at the quiet girl, Evelyn. The girl turned her head and looked at him. As he saw her staring at him with those red eyes, he could not help but tremble slightly. For some reason, those red eyes were quite intimidating. She should have awakened her special eyes already, huh? What a pity. Oliver knew the talent of the protagonist was extraordinary. He could feel an intensity behind that stare. Right, right. Bella nodded. She was quite sociable and asked others to do the same. Oliver also helped Nadia to get acquainted, although she barely said a word and kept her indifferent expression. So, do you have any idea what's with this sudden meeting? I heard it was for some joint training program or something, Bella asked everyone, wanting to lighten the atmosphere and make everyone comfortable. Oliver could not help but nod. This was a true extrovert, eager to get comfortable with others and take charge. I heard the same. I am not aware of the sudden reason behind it. The elders of my clan suddenly summoned me, Alfonso also informed. Daniel placed his hands on the table as he pondered. If I had to guess, it might be related to the recent increased activity of demons at the borders. That sounds about right, Oliver added. He noticed that Daniel was carrying a sword dangling by his waist. Too simple, Amber casually said, much to Daniel's displeasure as his brows furrowed a bit. What? He questioned, looking at her. Amber, however, ignored him and looked at Oliver and Nadia with a deep gaze as she asked, "Your clan recently had an anomalous phenomenon, right? What was it about?" she questioned with a sly smile. The others did not know about this. It seems that she got the information from her clan. Oliver looked at her thoughtfully. He had to phrase his words in a way that didn't give any confidential information out, lest he got reprimanded by the elder later. It was actually, just as he started to explain, he heard a loud banging sound from a corner. Bang! Are you ignoring me? Daniel asked in a slightly louder tone as his eyes locked onto Amber, and his hand, which had turned into a fist, was placed on the table. Humph. Amber scoffed and turned towards him. Did I ask you? Oh? You. I don't really fight with women, but you're provoking me, he spat. Calm down, you two. Oliver tried to maintain the peace, but... You don't fight with women? Why? Are you scared of getting beaten? Amber taunted him, further pushing him. You. I can handle you even with my hands tied, haha. I am scared of none. Really? I am sure I can put you in your place even with my eyes closed. The argument was slowly getting out of hand. Remember, guys, we are here to get to know each other. He tried to speak, but his voice only got drowned out by their loud heated talk. He turned to Bella and saw her serious eyes. She stood up, and he thought that she was finally going to be a true leader who calmed the crowd. How about a duel then? She suddenly said. The two stopped and looked at her at the same time and asked, Duel? She smiled and replied, That's right. Instead, how about we all duel with each other? Isn't it a great way to connect and familiarize ourselves with each other? We can develop a strong bond too by knowing each other's skills. Oliver stood up and said in a hurried tone, Hey, what are you saying? Why all of us? Just let these two fight it out. He suddenly felt a little regretful. She was indeed the unstoppable machine. He should have predicted this outcome given her nature. Don't worry, Oliver, Bella looked at him, it's going to be a friendly match. She paused for a moment and thought of something. If you are worried, then we can ask one of the elders to oversee. I believe they will be good to judge. But why exaggerate? Once again, he got cut off in the middle of his sentence when Alfonso interrupted with a comment. I do not mind. I believe we noble exorcists must recognize each other's skills if we truly intend to get to know each other. He looked at others before adding, we will be the future of our clans and humanity at the same time. Someone weak would only drag us down. Of course, I am not implying that any of you here is weak. Neither am I trying to disrespect your respective clans. However, personally, I will never believe someone whose skills have not been seen by me. He glanced at Oliver as he said this. It seemed that he doubted Oliver. Ever since he had arrived here, he had seen others come one by one. He didn't tell this to anyone, but he was carrying an artifact with him that helped him measure the strength, overall esper, of those around him to some degree. The artifact buzzed constantly in the presence of the two girls from the Celestial Paradox clan, informing him of their superior strength. He was able to acknowledge them through this alone and their clan's reputation. So was the case with the other two clans as well, so he had no problems whatsoever. He had always been a person who did thorough research on both his allies and enemies beforehand. And there was a reason why he was feeling doubtful. Chapter 101, The Artifact Did Not Work. Alfonso had always been a person who did thorough research on both his allies and enemies beforehand. No matter how strong he was compared to his peers, he had always remained vigilant. So naturally, he had researched the people he was going to meet today as well. Of course, gathering information on the heirs of 5 major clans was no joke. He had specifically asked his elders to obtain it for him. They had to spend a huge amount of resources to gain some brief insights. The people from the Celestial Paradox clan had always been the strongest for generations, and the two girls were exceptional prodigies from the clan. Daniel from the Sacred Swords clan was a sword prodigy. The Sacred Swords clan was famous for producing the strongest physical exorcists and tool masters. From his information, he knew that this guy was hot-headed. This was why he did not talk with him from the beginning either. He was not used to interacting with such types of people. Not only that, he also knew that although this guy seemed hot-tempered, he was actually quite clever and a sword prodigy at that. On the other hand, Amber from the Blue Crown clan was also quite talented and had a knack for talismans and other exorcism tools. She was a clever person, and he did not mind dealing with her. The last to arrive were the ones from the Mystic Purge clan. It was also a clan with a lot of mystery, and the worst reputation among exorcists. They were quite infamous for their cruelty and inhuman behavior even towards their fellow exorcists. While he did find information about Nadia, it was severely limited. Even the elders were powerless about it. From the limited knowledge, he was aware that Nadia was an extraordinary genius even among her siblings. As per the rumors, she was also the most likely person to become the next matriarch of the clan. Obviously, he was very interested in making connections with her due to this sole reason and those two girls from the Celestial Paradox clan. But what made him perplexed was the guy behind Nadia. He introduced himself as Oliver and was the twin sibling of Nadia, but he was not mentioned in the information. He suddenly came out of nowhere, and what was even more disturbing was that he could not sense much aspera from his body. Not only that, the artifact that he was carrying was buzzing when it was in Nadia's presence, the intensity similar to the two sisters from the Celestial Paradox clan. But when he tried to use the artifact on Oliver, the artifact did not produce even the slightest bit of reaction. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Was the artifact not working? It was as if Oliver was not even worth noting. He even tried to sense it himself, but all he found was merely above-average aspera from him. He became suspicious of his strength. And then, to confirm his suspicions, Oliver just now backed off from a duel as if hesitant to even face off against them. Did he know that he was weak and thus did not want to fight them? If this was indeed the case, then he must be removed first from their group. He had read about it countless times in countless books. Having someone inept in a team was more lethal than being surrounded by a horde of demons. If they were going to familiarize themselves with each other and form a possible group or alliance of sorts, then Oliver should be removed beforehand. The suggestion by Bella was the best way and was at the best time as well. He could not get a better opportunity than this to test out Oliver and his skills. He could confirm his doubts and at the same time show him the difference between them. He did not feel any particular hatred towards him, but he could not afford a weak companion in the future if they were going to be together more. And it was good for Oliver too. His life would be saved from any danger they might be facing in the future. So he cut him off and agreed on his behalf as well. Oliver looked at Alfonso with a dumbfounded expression. He didn't expect this noble-looking guy to be a brute as well. He had always felt that bonding through fighting was not correct. Rather than bonding, in most cases, it was more of a matter of establishing a hierarchy. Looking at Nadia from the corner of his eye, he could see her expressionless look, but he could feel a hint of anger in her eyes for some reason. Was it his imagination? What he didn't realize just now was that the anger in her eyes was for him. Earlier, while he had been cut off, he did not think much of it and ignored it, but she saw how he was cut off not once but twice in a row. First was that girl called Bella, and then this dumb-looking guy. This was clearly disrespectful, not to him alone but to the clan as well. If they were here as the representatives of their respective clans, then being interrupted while speaking simply equate to the opinion of their clan being ignored? While she herself was not interested in chatting with this bunch of dumb kids, she did not mind Oliver talking on her behalf as well. But seeing him being cut off like this made her feel disrespected too. The clan must not be disrespected, this was the main motive for her in this meeting. She was here to establish her dominance over these people. Plus, for some reason, she hated the way that Bella was talking so casually with Oliver. A bunch of useless people. She was not going to let it slide. Then it's decided. I will call an elder over and we should start right away, how about it? We will draw lots and match the two. Since Amber and Daniel are in an argument, they can duel it out. The rest of us will draw, Bella suggested. All the others agreed, so Oliver had to as well in the end. Chapter 102, Nadia takes revenge on his behalf. Fuck. Oliver cursed internally as he looked at the opponent's name on the paper slip. He glanced toward Bella and weakly nodded. His expression was grim as he saw his energetic opponent. He did not want to fight her. She was a crazy girl. Don't worry, it's a friendly match. Just show me your skills and let's get along well, Bella said in a reassuring tone, which did not comfort him at all. Rather, he felt exhausted. The matching order was as follows. Nadia, Alfonso. Oliver, Bella. Daniel, Amber. As for Evelyn, well, since there was no one to match her against, she was the odd one left out. Oliver offered to exchange places with her, but Bella strongly insisted on fighting with him rather than her sister, whom she was used to. She said she wanted to see how children from other clans compared to herself. He heard the elders call and went to him with the others. Well then, this is just a friendly duel to know each other's skills. You all are going to be together in the future, so try to bond better. You are smart and should know that anything excessive is forbidden. I will be watching over and will intervene if I feel so. He glanced at Daniel and Amber as he said this, silently warning them beforehand. Having unsettled grudges was not good for a team, and it was best to resolve them as soon as possible lest they interfere later in critical moments. The two, feeling the elder's cold gaze, shrank slightly. This duel was the best way. The elder knew it was best for them to establish a hierarchy so they could all remain competitive and disciplined in the long run. All the other elders also had no objections to this duel since putting up an objection would only mean that their clan was weaker than the others. The first match was between Nadia and Alfonso. Alfonso wanted to fight Oliver himself to properly assess his skills, but he was matched against Nadia. But he did not mind this since he trusted that watching the duel between Bella and Oliver would be quite good too. Bella was stronger than any of them and should easily help him evaluate. Well then, we should get started too, he said, looking at Nadia. For some reason, he felt cold. Was the stare in her gaze indifferent and cold? Nonetheless, the duel started normally at first. But as it went on, the people around started to realize something. It seemed that Alfonso was being ruthlessly beaten. The fight had suddenly turned one-sided, with Nadia continuously beating Alfonso. Boom. Wait. Pft. As Alfonso tried to say something, a hard fist landed on his face, sending him flying. Nadia did not allow him to speak a word as she mercilessly and humiliatingly crushed him. The face of the elder from the Fallen Heart clan was worth watching. He was red with shame. Seeing the heir he had brought so proudly being brutally beaten one-sidedly was a great shame. The other elders had amused expressions, watching Nadia beat the heir of the Fallen Heart clan like that. This clearly showed the superior talent the Mystic Purge clan had raised. Meanwhile, the one getting beaten felt like crying. He could feel Nadia exacting some sort of revenge against him. Cough, cough. He coughed out spit as another kick connected straight to his abdomen with great force. I can't, ugh. Before he could surrender, Nadia made a leg swing directly under his chin, rendering him unconscious. Miss Nadia is the victor. There was a deferential silence in the surroundings as no one reacted for a while. Looking at the bruised and swollen Alfonso, they could not help but feel pity. Damn. So brutal. Oliver exclaimed in his heart, looking at Nadia in a new light. He could never be this ruthless in a friendly duel. He could only imagine how she would have tortured him had it been a duel of life and death. The elder from the Fallen Heart clan quickly poured a healing potion into Alfonso's mouth as he shot a glare toward the girl. Nadia, however, was unfazed and looked at them emotionlessly. Well, to Oliver, this result was quite obvious considering that Nadia was already a rank 1 exorcist. Bella and Evelyn had a small frown as they looked at the scene. They did not feel comfortable. Nadia should have allowed her opponent to surrender if he wanted to. Huff. Huff. Alfonso huffed as he looked at Nadia with a hint of fear. He would never approach her in his life. Who knows, after today he might get gynophobia. He quickly went to the corner with the elder. Underscore 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 underscore. Next up, young Miss Bella and young Master Oliver, please come forward, the elder spoke to them. Oliver looked at Bella, and she appeared calm, but her expression hid a hint of excitement. You can start, the elder said simply as he went back to watch. Well then, do you want to get the first attack? Bella asked curiously, seemingly aware of his earlier hesitation and lack of confidence. So she offered. Can we decide the victor with rock, paper, and scissors instead? Oliver asked back. Bella smiled slightly as she said, then I will start first. As she said this, she almost vanished from her spot, appearing behind the dazed Oliver who was still looking at the previous spot where she was standing. You are wide open. Her hand turned into a chop as she aimed for his back, intending to land a blow. However, what happened next was completely out of her expectations. Oliver blurred from his spot, and her eyes widened. She was just about to connect her hit when he dodged from his previous spot, making her chop hit nothing but air. She almost lost her balance for a second, and in that very second, she felt him behind her. Twisting her body with force, she blocked an incoming fist to her face with a fist of her own. She knew how fast she reacted in that instant. Even a moment's delay would have cost her dearly. She had unconsciously used a great deal of force behind the fist that she used to counter him. It was all due to her instinct warning her of the danger. Oh no, I used too much force. Bang! Chapter 103, Bella vs. Oliver. Oh no, I used too much force. Bang! The fists collided, and both were flung backward due to the sheer impact of the collision. Irk! Bella's expression shifted as she inspected her fingers in surprise. It was an expected reaction, after all. They are numb. Moments ago, she had exerted a significant amount of force unintentionally due to the sudden situation. She intended to apologize, but who would have expected that he would not only counter her but emerge unscathed? And since her fingers felt this way, didn't that indicate the force behind his counter was equal to or greater than hers? Oliver appeared as calm as before, as if he did not even feel any pain or numbness from the previous collision. This guy. Bella's face broke into a wide smile. She could tell from his expression that he did not feel anything from the previous impact, but her fist was burning as if she had hit a heavy boulder. He is not weak at all. She had to admit this one thing. Earlier, when she tried to gauge his strength, his aspera was barely above average, so she had underestimated him a little. Despite being taught not to disrespect her opponents, she still did it inadvertently. And she paid the price. Had he wanted to, he could have easily injured her with her guard lowered. She had not given it her all and held back in case she might injure him accidentally. She had just witnessed his sister's strength, and it was her mistake to underestimate him even after that. Was she becoming arrogant due to her background? She should not forget that the person in front of her was not of any inferior background either. Just in terms of background alone, he was on par with her. She let out a laugh while looking at him. I am sorry for underestimating you earlier. I will not hold back anymore. Oliver stared at her with calm eyes. He didn't understand why was she apologizing. Bella cracked her knuckles as she rushed forward, but this time with greater speed and strength. Oliver parried her with ease, his eyes showing a calmness like never before. After practicing continuously and having obtained a 10 times stronger aspera talent, he was naturally not worried about being defeated. This was why practicing skills was always important. It was good that he had never slacked off his training just because of the presence of a system. He would never have gained this confidence if he hadn't put in the effort. Strength and achievements you never worked hard for would never give you the confidence a person who toiled to obtain them would have. He knew this very well. Those main protagonists would suffer from an inferiority complex every moment of their life and always be doubtful of themselves just because they knew they never worked hard for their power. He was the same, but he felt that he deserved it after putting in all that effort since the beginning. Bam! Bam! Swish! Oliver repeatedly blocked all of Bella's strikes. He could feel the force behind them, but compared to his level 5 strength, she was definitely lacking. Bella became more and more desperate with each move that was getting blocked by him. She could not understand. She could not understand how she was not able to land even a single hit on him. It felt as if she was hitting a wall. Her hands had a numbness to them that was not there before. She felt that his skin was as tough as metal. Of course, she was not using her Aspera since she could tell that Oliver had not used his either. This was frustrating her. Looking at him, he was as calm as water, as if her attacks couldn't even cause a ripple in his emotions. And what infuriated her even more was the fact that he had not attacked her even once. He was simply blocking her swings or dodging. Gritting her teeth, she asked, "Why are you not attacking back?" Oliver blinked. He was busy thinking about her fighting style. From the beginning, he had been observing her stance, trying to decipher the martial arts she was using, but it seemed that he was not skilled enough to do that. The Celestial Paradox clan had great techniques, and Bella's movements were all unpredictable to him. However, when she was close enough, he could still dodge or block her. He had to admit that she was consuming a lot of his energy to keep up. Had he been a normal rank 1 exorcist who had just broken through, he might not have been able to keep up with her. In the novel, it was mentioned that the sister of the main protagonist was very talented as well. She was just later overshadowed by the main protagonist and her achievements, but the fact remained unchanged that she also had the same blood as that of the protagonist running through her veins. Oliver's eyes honed as he saw another punch coming towards him. He dodged, but it turned out that it was a feint attack. He hurriedly turned around and jumped to the side, dodging the kick to his side by a hair's breadth. His left ear felt a ringing sensation as the wind generated by the kick went past him. He looked at the opponent and saw she had a frown on her forehead. He did not indulge her any longer. It was time to finish this. Since he knew if he stalled her any longer, she might truly get pissed off. The only reason he had been delaying this was to get some hints about her martial art technique. He didn't want her to awaken some broken ability in the middle of the fight due to him. Bella looked at him and saw his eyes suddenly turn sharp. She knew that he was going to attack for the first time now. So, instead of rushing at him, she quickly assumed a defensive stance. There was an eerie silence around them except for the rhythmic tapping of Oliver's footsteps as he walked towards her like he was taking a stroll in the park. Tap tap tap. Bella tensed. She was expecting him to surprise her again with his blinding speed. She was keeping an eye on him while also being ready to counter if he sneaked up behind her. Her heart pounded in her chest, the sound almost deafening in the silent arena. The anticipation was like a coiled spring inside her, ready to snap at any moment. She knew better than to underestimate him again, and the stillness around them only heightened the tension. But contrary to her expectations, he did not do that. Rather, he was simply walking up to her. His movements were unhurried, almost casual, yet every step he took seemed to echo with purpose. He appeared to be full of openings that even a kid could attack him, but Bella knew better. He was a walking bait, enticing his opponents to pounce on him only to realize that he was the predator in bait's disguise. Tap tap tap. The distance between them closed, and Bella could see the minute details of his face, the slight narrowing of his eyes, the controlled breath, each signifying an underlying strength. Not to mention, she found his eyes quite beautiful, they looked magical and hypnotic. Oliver was now very close to Bella. The distance between them was minimal. She was still in a defensive stance, not moving an inch. Oliver stretched his hand back, and under Bella's narrowed gaze, at an insane speed, attacked her directly. Bella was amazed at the speed, but she was prepared. Bang! Ugh dash. Chapter 104, Did she win? Bang! Ugh dash, she groaned as she experienced the strength of a 10 times enhanced rank 1 exorcist. Her eyes could not help but widen as she resisted the force behind the blow. Huff. She managed to resist, but her arms felt numb due to the impact. No choice but to use Aspera. she thought as a glint passed through her eyes. Her body started to glow in a white hue as she looked at Oliver with determined eyes. Swish! Oliver suddenly felt a great force striking his back. Gasp! He clutched his back in pain. He didn't see her move behind him. It seemed using Aspera turned her into a completely different person. It was understandable, considering she was never a physical exorcist like he was. Her skills with using Aspera were far superior to ordinary children, so it was not a shock that she was able to corner him. However, Oliver was not weak either. He immediately used Aspera as well. A burst of powerful Aspera radiated from his body. It was not particularly tremendous, but it was enough to increase his agility and strength a bit. Bang! Bang! The next scene was nothing but a flurry of strikes and moves, both sides dodging and attacking continuously. Bella could feel his strength. It was not inferior to hers. Rather, she would say it was greater than hers. It was a surprise. She had always listened to her elders saying that she was the most talented in her generation and stood at the pinnacle compared to her peers on the same level. But now, meeting someone smaller than her with even greater strength. She did not know what to feel, but it did induce a bitter feeling inside her, followed by a strong determination to overcome him and be the strongest. The fight intensified as the spectators could only watch in amazement as the two youngsters fought elegantly. Bella was formidable, and her attacks were agile and powerful. However, Oliver remained unfazed and dodged her attacks without getting hit much. He even found openings from time to attack her weak points. It's time to end this. Oliver looked at the slightly panting girl with a smile as she gritted her teeth and flexed her muscles, channeling power in her fist as she again blurred from her spot, only to attack him from the front. This time he did not dodge but instead made a surprised face as if he had been caught off guard, which looked quite natural too, considering the dust clouds around them obscuring the vision. Bella pushed forward, aiming at his chest. Bang! Dash! Oliver let out a painful shriek as he flung his body backward, followed by a crash into nearby trees. Cough dash! He coughed up and fell to the ground, clutching his chest. He was flawless in his act as the dust clouds around them slowly settled down. All the spectators saw was Oliver lying on the ground clutching his chest and a stunned Bella who still had her fingers curled into a fist, paused mid-air. The elder was not surprised and announced, "Miss Bella is the victor." However, instead of the laughter from the elders that was there at the time when Alfonso was beaten and defeated, there was instead a calm atmosphere without much noise. While the children might not have been able to see it, the elders with their advanced senses were able to peer into the details. The way Oliver fought was like he was handling a child. He was easily able to counter Bella in every way possible. Not only that, but his speed and strength were also clearly superior to hers. Except for his above-average Aspera, which made them confused. How could a genius like him have such a level of Aspera? Moreover, some of them even had suspicions that he lost on purpose. They did not understand why, but they still remained silent and observed. Was he a true genius in physical exorcism? They were caught up in the fight between these two young kids. While it was not too splendid, they still saw the clash of two geniuses. No one dared to mock at this moment. It would be stupid to offend such a genius when he could later grow up to be a powerhouse. The elder from the Mystic Purge clan did not move from his spot. Oliver was not too injured, so he did not have to go and give him healing potions. He was busy observing the young lady from the Celestial Paradox clan. As the rumors had suggested, she indeed had a knack for both martial arts and Aspera techniques. He could see how smoothly Aspera was flowing inside her body. It was very smooth and without any blockages, as if it was natural. Such flow indicated her talent as an exorcist. Alfonso was also silent at this point. He had already learned his lesson. Never in his life was he going to underestimate anyone from the Mystic Purge clan from this moment forth. He swore it in his heart. He could tell that Oliver was a seriously talented guy, even more so than him to some extent. He had to admit it painfully. He doubted that he could last even a minute under that sort of monstrous strength and energy. He was able to console himself, thinking how he was still ahead of him in Aspera and the amount of Aspera they had. The only thing he could feel somewhat proud of. He also felt relieved that he did not outright belittle him earlier based on his suspicions alone. Everyone around them was praising the good fight. Meanwhile, Bella remained silent. She was standing still on her spot alone, her eyes dazed as she was in deep thought. The last scene of the fight repeated in her mind. Just when she was about to deliver her punch, for a split second, she felt as if she saw him move and press his palm against her incoming fist, producing a feeling of impact. The next thing she knew, he was already flung back, crashing directly into a tree. And not to mention her fist was now entirely numb. She was barely able to feel her fingers after that impact. Did I really defeat him? She frowned, this was not acceptable. Chapter 105, Nadia's Wrath. Bella's Reluctance. Did I really defeat him? She looked conflicted, she knew it was impossible. She had already prepared herself in some corner of her mind that today she was going to suffer the first defeat of her life at the hands of this silver-haired, frail-looking boy. But contrary to this, she somehow was able to win even after all that. What was that supposed to mean? Did he expect her to believe that? Did he think she would accept this? Why did he do this? What was the reason? Questions clouded her brain, making her overthink, a bad habit she had since she was born. No. I refuse to believe this. He definitely did something at the last moment. She was more willing to believe that he was so insanely fast that she was not able to even catch a glimpse of his movement at the end than to believe that she won against someone who had been parrying her moves from the beginning without effort. She slowly walked up to him, who was still clutching his chest in pain and acting like he was really hit badly by her. She didn't care as she bent down and grabbed his collar. She roughly pulled him up and slammed him back against the tree. Oliver, who was enjoying the reactions of those around him, was stunned by the sudden grab on his collar and the slam. He looked at her in confusion. Didn't you win? What happened? Instead of a gloating expression, what he saw was entirely the opposite. She was glaring at him with fierce eyes as she snarled. What did you do in the end? Her eyes met his at that moment. Stop acting. I know you cannot be beaten by that attack. Not of that level. Why did you get thrown like this? Answer me. She yelled at him, drawing the attention of the audience who looked at her with equally confused eyes as Oliver. The expression of the elder from the Celestial Paradox clan changed greatly at this time. He knew that the elder young miss was somewhat battle-crazed, but he did not know it was this serious. However, he still did not move, since the other elders were watching. He did not take any action, especially when the one from the Mystic Purge clan was also looking at the duo with an unreadable expression. Oliver could not help but curse. He thought he had been quite fast at the end and would have surely evaded her senses, but did she actually catch him doing the fake act? Looking at her desperate and angry expression, he went silent. Indeed, he had intentionally lost, but so what? He wanted to do so and did it. Bella was the role model of her younger sister, the main protagonist. In the eyes of her sister, she had always been the best. She was undefeated and the most powerful. She was necessary for Evelyn to become stronger, she could not be defeated in front of her little sister. If he defeated her now, he would be, what? Why did he not defeat her? Why didn't he care about his own dignity? Was it as simple as something for the sake of the plot? He was not sure why. But he didn't want to defeat her earlier. For some reason, he wanted her to maintain the image she had presented in front of her sister so far. His mind could not help but go back to a scene from his previous life where he was with his elder sister. Although he was a disabled kid in his previous life, his sister had always acted as a shield in front of him. She was excellent both in academics and sports, a role model for him and her peers. But something tragic happened when she got into an unfortunate accident and lost her ability to walk. She was quickly declared to never be able to walk by the doctors, and the wheelchair became a permanent companion in her life. He was able to witness how her life changed right before his eyes. How the always bright and cheerful girl turned into a shadow of her former self. Their parents did support them however they were able to, but with both of their kids being disabled now, they were also distressed. He was there when he noticed this shift in his sister at that time. Before losing her legs, she was the best sister he could ever ask for. He noticed how her once so-called best friend slowly cut off contact with her, leaving her alone. Of course, he was still there for her. Even if his eyes were not the best, he still helped her in every way possible. But he knew that she was cutting herself off from everyone slowly. He was also helpless too. He wanted to. He was drawn out of his thoughts when Bella shook him slightly, asking him the reason. She saw how he was still silent even after being asked and could not help but feel even more frustrated. You don't have even a bit of sweat on you. Are you even tired from the duel earlier, or is this a joke? She eyed his hand still pressing against his chest where he was supposed to have been hit. She removed her hand holding him against the tree and gripped his hand on the chest, trying to pull it away to see if he was really as injured as he was supposed to be. Just when she was about to pull his hand away, another hand suddenly intervened and gripped her wrist in a forceful manner. A chilling cold voice sounded in the silent area. What do you think you are doing? The voice was cold, and an overwhelming tension suddenly filled the air. It was Nadia. Her hand was now tightly gripping Bella's hand that was holding Oliver's hand. At this moment, her eyes were extremely cold, and her facial expressions could not be any more devoid of emotions. Bella felt the tight grip on her hand. The strength behind it was enough to crush the bones of a normal human. Nadia really intended to break her hand. Sister. Evelyn also went up to Bella and said anxiously. She had never seen her sister lose her composure like this before. To her, Bella had always been a calm and noble person. She was always the first to go to her opponent and see to their injuries after a duel. So, she didn't understand the situation when her sister was trying to bully an already defeated opponent. Bella ignored Evelyn and met Nadia's cold eyes. There was still a trace of unwillingness in her eyes. She wanted to know if Oliver was actually defeated or... The cold voice rang again, but this time, there was a hint of murderous intent in the atmosphere. Move your hand. Chapter 106, What did Bella do? Move your hand. Nadia's eyes blazed with an intensity that made those around her step back, sensing the storm brewing within her. Even Evelyn felt intimidated by the air. Nadia said again as she forcefully tore Bella's hand that was still gripping Oliver's. She could not express this moment, but when she saw earlier Oliver getting defeated even after hiding that dark power and strength to defeat a minor-level demon, her mood had soured and was a little disdainful as well. She could not believe that he still got defeated by that girl. However, when she saw her moving up to him even after defeating him and roughing him up, her blood started to boil. She could not control the sudden urge in her mind to kill Bella at that moment. It was an overbearing urge that almost made her lose her temper. Before she knew it, she was there, stopping her hand. She didn't know why. Underscore 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 underscore. Bella, whose hand had been yanked away, also jerked up. A ripple of shock passed through the onlookers, everyone holding their breath as the tension crackled in the air. Her eyes, which had been full of anger, also trembled. She looked at Oliver, who was also speechlessly looking at this new drama unfolding. His eyelids could not help but twitch wildly. He was currently experiencing the feeling of a heroine in a TV show for some reason. I am sorry, Bella instantly bowed down to him. Please forgive me for my earlier misconduct. I don't know what got into me that made me do that to you, even though you were already injured. Her eyes could not help but moisten up slightly, she was feeling like trash right now. Oliver also felt bad for making her feel like this because of his fake act. In the end, she was still a little girl, he sighed, it's fine. I am not angry. He chuckled softly, instead, I can understand the feeling of not being able to fight to your heart's content with a rival, haha. I apologize for not being up to your expectation, hahaha. He lightly waved his hand and diffused the tense atmosphere. Bella also nodded weakly. She was about to cry in front of so many people. If she had done that, she would not have any face left in the future. Her expression was as red as a tomato. While everyone heaved a sigh of relief that the situation did not escalate much, Nadia was still holding on to his kimono. Oliver looked at her with question marks on his face as he whispered. Ahem, thanks, Nadia. Thanks for helping me. Hearing his gratitude, she slowly released his clothes and went back without looking at anyone. Oliver shook his head and retrieved a healing potion from his mind space and drank its contents to show others that he was really injured just now. Why had he lost on purpose? Maybe he just wanted her to maintain an image in front of her sister, or maybe he did not want to get involved in the plot early? It could be anything, but he did what his heart wanted at that moment. Perhaps, in the future, he should not act like this in front of her. The little incident was foiled quickly, and the next duel was between Amber and Daniel, the root cause of everything. The match was intense. Daniel, being the sword prodigy he was, used a variety of sword moves and impressive sword arts as well. Oliver was tempted to get those techniques, but the system did not detect him as a binding character. Well, anyways, he could just get them from the Sacred Sword clan in the future. Amber, on the other hand, was an exorcist specializing in tools and was using all sorts of weird-looking tools Oliver had never ever seen before. Of course, he was interested as they were helping her to stop Daniel very effectively. He might consider buying them from her in the future if the chance arises. The duel was a bit longer, and neither side was winning. Both were looking exhausted but still kept their opponent at bay. This was what a duel between the young heirs of 5 major clans should look like ideally, but well, the first duel ended up in crushing defeat of Alfonso and the second one was also quite weird. They still did not know the reason for Bella's sudden outbreak. Seeing the state of the two, the elder finally stepped forward without wasting more of anyone's time and announced in a clear voice. This duel is now being declared as a draw between the two. After the elder's words, both of them collapsed on their spots in exhaustion. They were equally matched with one another. Both had a newfound glint in their eyes. Daniel got up and walked up to Amber as he extended his hand to her. I am sorry for before, I lost temper too suddenly. You are indeed quite skilled, there has never been a fight where I have not been able to reach my opponent close. Amber looked at his hand and caught it as she slowly stood up. I am sorry too, I was rude in the beginning. It was my fault for ignoring you. She looked at him with apologetic eyes and an embarrassed look. No, well, I was also at fault for being partial towards women. I shouldn't have said that. In the end, they managed to patch up things under the watchful eyes of the crowd. I believe you guys must be familiar with each other through this. One of the elders came forward and said as he looked at the children present one by one. Now we will be having you quiet down for a bit and tell you all about some of the plans we have for your future. The crowd quickly settled in order. You all should know about the purpose of today's meeting. It was a joint training program, but you should know what the end goal of this is? Why did we even plan this? He asked as Alfonso added, isn't it to make us stronger for the future? Indeed, that is one of the reasons behind this, but there's another major reason behind this. The end goal of this program is to make you all strong enough to participate in the perpetual plane. Perpetual plane. Chapter 107, Perpetual plane? Perpetual plane. Oliver's eyes couldn't help but flicker fiercely. Memories from the novel refreshed in his mind as he realized where this was going. The perpetual plane was an entirely detached space built by the legends of the past, where the strong exorcists from the ancient era poured their resources together and formed this isolated space. The main purpose for the creation of this plane was to serve as a trial to the young and promising children and give them opportunities to grow stronger. Just so that only the ones worthy would get the opportunity, the plane was filled with obstacles and deadly beasts captured and released into that isolated space. It was an important place in ancient times when the war was heavy and promising youth died young due to the terror spread by the demonic forces. There was no peaceful place for them to grow before the demons invaded and killed them. So the council of decision-makers at that time resorted to this method. With the help of multiple exorcists, they were able to develop and manage this wide-scaled space. Over time, this tradition was continued by the clans, and the perpetual plane just kept getting richer in resources and even bigger, but at the same time dangerous too. The beasts inside mutated to grow even stronger by consuming resources and dense aspera, so it was since then that the clan only sent highly trained younglings inside who would emerge out to be more powerful and with ancient treasures. There was a strict restriction placed to limit the eligibility criteria to being till rank 3, which was the cap limit. It was not possible for anyone stronger to enter. Forceful means might even distort the coordinates of the perpetual plane, making it lost in the boundless space. Of course, no one was willing to take such a risk considering the amount of secret ancient treasures still inside the realm. Who knows, there might be epic rank artifacts inside. Overall, the perpetual plane was an excellent opportunity that only a few would ever obtain in their lifetime. It would not only make them stronger but also provide a scope for them to get life-changing treasures inside. Elder, what is perpetual plane? Amber asked. She didn't know about it. The perpetual plane is a secret space that is opened once every century and is a place filled with unknown ancient treasures and dangers from the past. It is a dangerous place, but for someone strong, it's a place filled with opportunities. The elder briefed her about it. Her eyes shone as she heard the words treasures and unknown opportunities. And it was not just her, but the others also had their eyes shining in excitement. After all, who among them was not ambitious enough? They all wanted to become strong and get many treasures. However, one of them had a pale expression at the moment. It was none other than Oliver. His expression was abnormal at the moment and didn't look good. No way, the perpetual plane. In the novel, it was definitely mentioned that only the protagonist and Nadia were able to enter the plane. As for the rest of the heirs, there was not even a mention of them. Oliver panicked now. In the novel, it was around the time when the perpetual plane was opened. However, only Nadia and Evelyn were the ones to actually enter the plane. There was not even a mention of the other heirs at all. Oliver realized he was thinking too much in an instant, so he gradually calmed himself. It was not the time to overthink, but instead calmly analyze the situation before him with a clear and sharp mind. Did this mean that something happened during the joint training program that made them unable to enter? Did they all die? What exactly happened? He was not sure, but he could tell that there was definitely something that had happened during the joint training program that rendered everyone except the two unable to enter the perpetual plane. He was calm. At least, this helped him know that something would happen during this joint training period and it would not pass peacefully. He had to be on guard as well. Elder, what will be doing in this joint training? Alfonso questioned. You will be learning under an expert together. After your training, you will be familiarized with the job of an exorcist, where you'll be led to deal with actual terrors and problems of the world. Of course, according to your level, it will be adjusted. They nodded in understanding. Who will we be under? I assume it's someone noteworthy considering our standings. Daniel said, proud of his background and bloodline. The elder glanced at him. Under the gaze of the elder, he could not help but quieten down and shrink. The expert is a veteran exorcist who retired from the battlefield a long time ago. He is someone who was the bane of demons in his time. He slaughtered countless demons and stood at the front. Now he has been especially invited by the clans to teach you kids, so you better be respectful to him. One of the standing elders cautioned them to not do something disrespectful. The man they had invited was not someone to be taken lightly after all. Who is it? Oliver asked. Dennis Rivera. The elder mentioned his name finally, but all he received were confused looks from the crowd. He sighed. It was a reaction he was already expecting. He didn't expect them to know about every valiant exorcist in the past. While the person they invited was special, there were countless ancient exorcists famous for their exorcism and fame. So it was natural for those with lesser fame to be suppressed in the meantime. Oliver also pursed his lips. He also had no idea who this man was supposed to be. It was most likely a side character, since he was not mentioned in the story, or if he was, then it was so insignificant that he didn't bother to remember his name. So, are we going to be meeting him today? No, today was just arranged for you all to be familiar with one another. That's all. We will be leaving after a meeting, so do whatever you want in the meantime. With that, the group of elders left the children alone and went to discuss some important topics that definitely involved the void cloud phenomenon that happened in the Mystic Purge clan. Chapter 108, Once-in-a-Lifetime Offer or Oliver hung out with the other children as the elders continued their meeting. Everyone discussed the strange phenomenon that had occurred in his clan some time ago. He wanted to avoid talking about the void cloud phenomenon, which had happened a while back. But Amber cornered him and started bugging him about it. Oliver tried to change the subject, but Amber kept nagging him about it. Finally, Oliver told her to leave him alone and walked away. He knew he was not a tolerant person, so before he was further tested, he decided to just walk away and leave the rest to Nadia. He informed the maid that he was going to wander the forest and asked her to let the elder know once he's back and about to leave. It was better to be in this beautiful forest alone and appreciate the surroundings. He had always liked greenery. Even behind his courtyard, there was a place filled with trees that he had made his secret spot of comfort. The forest was silent except for the occasional melodious chirping sounds. He sat against a tree and rested as he enjoyed the shade. Unknowingly, he fell asleep in the calm and peaceful atmosphere. He was in the embrace of nature and surrounded by tall ancient trees. The smell of wooden bark and the gentle rustle of winds against his skin made him particularly relaxed. Some time passed. It was a silent and relaxing sleep, until he felt some sort of uneasiness in his heart as he quickly opened his eyes. He realized that he was no longer in the forest, but instead, he seemed to be in another unfamiliar place. The surroundings had shifted from lush green to barren land filled with dried-out trees, completely opposite the previous lush green scenery. He confusedly looked around. Where was he? He was just taking a relaxing nap for a moment, and the next thing he knew was that he was here. Damn. He cursed under his breath. He couldn't even get a moment's worth of relief. He really could not let his guard down in this world, even in something as peaceful as this forest. This was such a harmless-looking forest and now this happened. He should have been more careful when the surroundings were this silent. Fuck, but where am I? He looked around and as far as his eyes could travel. All he saw was barren land and dying trees. He still felt it would not be too late before the elders noticed his absence. He had an inkling that he was still in the same forest for some reason. Swish. He heard a whistling sound behind him and turned back only to see something unexpected. Particles made out of light were slowly gathering in one spot as soon as a figure made purely out of bright light emerged or more like formed in front of his eyes. He narrowed his eyes, properly examining this thing. Who are you? He looked at the creature with a humanoid build and undefined features. He wanted to know if the thing ahead understood what he said. He heard a deep voice in his ears as he asked this. It most likely belonged to the thing. I am a spirit. The thing's face started to turn more defined as he further spoke. I am one of the guardians of this forest, a forest spirit. The face of the spirit turned fully clear as an old man's face was formed with a long beard. Why did you bring me here? He suppressed his shock and asked the main thing first. Do you see the barren land in front of you? The old spirit with a sad look in his eyes asked. No. The spirit's form flickered for a moment as he looked back at the nonchalant Oliver again. In return, Oliver also glared at the old spirit. His intent was clear. What was the reason he was brought out here and where he was? The old spirit shook his head and answered. This is a separate space that belongs to me exclusively. The scenery in front of your eyes right now is the future of this forest. In some years, the demons would wage a war and the flames of war will consume this beautiful land, plundering it of resources and nature's wealth. The old spirit took a deep breath as he continued. I had brought you here after sensing a great power coiling inside your body. I am sure you have never seen a spirit before, my child. A kind look appeared on the old man's face as he continued. I really hope that you can help me protect this beautiful land which had been there for a few centuries now. This here is the future of this land, this beautiful forest that I am showing you. Don't you feel sad? Looking at these beautiful and green trees turning dead. I don't. This guy was really outrageous. The old spirit could not help but twitch violently after hearing him. Looking at the angry old man, Oliver sighed as he finally said. Why did you bring me here? And even if I feel bad about it, what help do you want from me? The restless spirit beamed when he heard Oliver. It's really simple, you just need to form a contract with me. Before Oliver could again reject him, the old man quickly quoted his benefits. It's really beneficial for you too. You will gain enormous strength if you form a contract with me. The old man excitedly continued, not only will this forest become a place where you will gain an advantage, but you will also be able to use my powers as a spirit as per the contract. The only thing is that I would need from you is half of your aspera as a payment. Also, this is very normal, some spirits even exchange all your aspera to form a contract. I am desperate, and that's why I am willing to sacrifice. The old man looked pitiful as if he was making a huge loss. He quickly added, you don't need to think much, such occasions are very rare, spirits rarely interact with the material world. You might never meet a spirit your whole life. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. Chapter 109, How did the ghost end up in this forest? You are a young exorcist, forming a contract with me would definitely put you ahead of your fellow peers. Your elders must have taught you, right? Power is everything, I can see from your eyes that you also want this, the old spirit eagerly spoke. We should not waste any more time and quickly form a contra. What? Why would I form a contract with you? Oliver interrupted as he sneered at the old spirit. Looking at his eyes which carried endless disdain, the old man was stunned. He again asked, what do you mean? Don't you understand the benefits? Should I repeat them for you? I heard you loud and clear. No need to repeat that all. Then why? The old man cried out. First of all, there's no way I am going to form a contract with an old man such as yourself. Had it been a beautiful spirit, I might have considered, but there's no way I am going to make one with you. What the fuck? That's ageist. The old man rebelled. Oliver. Anyways, I am not going to do it. Call me what you want, the second reason is you underestimating for an oblivious fool. What does that mean? The old man frowned. Exactly what it sounds like. You want half of my aspera as payment? Are you kidding me? A spirit never asks anything in return for forming a contract. Oliver scoffed as he pointed at the man. You are no spirit. At least not anymore. You are a deception. A ghost specifically trying to imitate a spirit, but too bad, the foul scenery ahead, no spirit would ever do that when offering a contract. You thought that I was naive and weak who had never seen a spirit before. But too bad for you, your cheap act of imitating a spirit was not even close to how a real spirit would be, ha ha ha. Oliver laughed out aloud in the eerie silence. When did you realize this? The old man asked in a low voice as the scenery behind started to flicker slowly. Humph. The moment you sensed the so-called great power within me. I am the weakest person among my peers. I don't know how a demonic being like you entered this forest, but you made a huge mistake targeting this place as this shall be your grave. Listening to Oliver's arrogant words, the old ghost slowly turned angrier. The old ghost's eyes went back to recall how he had ended up in this accursed forest. Underscore. The old ghost was actually not a messy small ghost but instead a powerful demonic ghost. He had been assigned at the borders to slaughter exorcists, but he was surrounded and gravely wounded by some pesky exorcists. He somehow used every bit of his remaining aspera to escape. However, he could only enter the territory of exorcists due to being surrounded. The exorcists were persistent and followed behind him. They chased after him madly. Using their annoying exorcism methods, they somehow figured out his traces and pursued him like mad dogs. He was not even given a moment's worth of rest to recover. Being in an unfamiliar enemy territory with a group of dangerous exorcists following behind, he was given a run for his life. He, who would eat 2 exorcists for breakfast daily, was now being hunted down by the same exorcists and he was powerless. He needed to recover some of his aspera if he even wanted to counter them or escape from this place infested by bugs called humans. As he continuously ran around, He somehow found this rich and dense forest with tall ancient trees. Without thinking much, he entered inside. Not because it was a good spot to hide but because he was smelling the presence of real spirits inside this forest. If he could somehow get his hands on one and eat it, not only would he recover back to his peak but might also have a breakthrough. Spirits were one of the best nutrition for demons such as himself. However, when he reached the place inside the forest where the smell was originating from, he was frustrated to find that the spirit was sealed behind an ancient statue. And the statue was guarded by a strange array restriction that he dared not approach due to ominous aspera nearby. He needed a physical body if he wanted to try and decipher the aspera and break inside. He had to possess a body for that. But how could he even find a human body in this place? Not to mention how would he even control the human given his weak aspera at the moment that was still recovering? It was then that he sensed multiple powerful presences near the forest entrance. He cursed as he feared that his pursuers have found him and reached here. But upon closer look, these people were different. He could tell from their aura. They were a bunch of old humans with some children. Those old humans were extremely strong. He would not survive if he fought with them or if they sensed him. The forest was a good place for blocking senses. He was quite far from them too. Using a good concealment technique special to ghosts like him, he was able to hide himself from their senses for the moment. He eyed the children and he had to admit that they smelled delicious. His mouth was salivating as he sensed them. If only he could devour them and possess one of them to break the array. The spirit inside the statue was dormant, he could easily consume it. After that, not only would he kill those pursuers of his but also devour this forest and its resources. But those children were constantly under the watch of those old powerful humans. He dared not approach them in case they sensed him and exorcised him. For the time being, he could only wait patiently for them to separate and find a chance later to possess one of them. As he waited, he noticed them mingling with each other and fighting. Looking at these childish battles, he could not help but feel disdain. These human children were nothing in front of their demon youngling with powerful bloodlines. They could easily kill them with a few punches. He patiently waited as they finished up with their things one by one. Chapter 110, Turning Tables. Why are you scared now? It was getting frustrating for him when they didn't move away. He was considering leaving the forest for now to gain some distance from his pursuers, but it was at that moment when one of the children walked away from the herd. He could not help but gloat seeing that. Now all he had to do was possess this foolish human child and break the array in this forest. He knew that humans were lofty creatures, slaves to their desires. As long as he stirred enough emotions in this human, he should be easily able to gain control. Who knows that the human might even surrender willingly. Although for some reason, he was not able to gauge the power inside the kid, he assumed that the human was too weak, just like a bug. So he used his power to create a faint illusion and slowly brought the sleeping kid into it. He knew that as long as he presented a pitiful act and used this forest to draw out his sympathy, the human would fall for it. He was aware that spirits were creatures that rarely interacted with these humans, so he doubted that a child would have ever met or seen one. Not only that, but to be more genuine, he even offered power to the human for forming a contract. He had just sensed that this human child barely had any noteworthy aspera, so he should be greedy enough for more power and fame. Of course, there was no power since he would be possessing the kid and killing him internally. So, he quickly presented his act to the kid. For some reason, this brat was quite arrogant and was pissing him off from time to time, but he endured it for the sake of devouring him later. He would make sure to give him a painful death at that time. However, even after all that, the human rejected him and his offer. He could not understand why. He asked for an explanation and upon hearing his first reason, his eyes could not help but turn bloodshot. This brat wanted a beautiful woman instead of an old man to offer him the contract? He would only sign a contract with a beautiful spirit? What logic was that? Didn't power reign supreme? Since when did these humans start to follow the religion of lust over power? Was he in his right mind? This was clearly a disrespect to him and his powers. This human was blatantly discriminating against spirits. So bold. But after hearing his second reason, he realized that he had been caught. And the reason he was caught was that he mentioned that this human child had a great power within. He could not help but curse. Looks like, in his injured state, he had lost his brain to be caught by a child of bugs. Underscore 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 underscore. So you knew. Ha ha ha. The old ghost laughed manically. He was truly enraged by this whole situation. No matter what. Today you will become a sacrifice, the old ghost yelled, his figure turning distorted and blurry in front of Oliver's keen eyes. Whether you want it or not. Your body now belongs to me. The ghost literally screamed as he madly dashed into Oliver's body. In his spiritual form, he entered inside Oliver's body. If the human was not going to comply on his own, then he would use force and turn the human into his vessel. Although he was tired and wounded, he didn't think that a weak bug could resist his power and force. Oliver gasped as he felt the ghost enter into his chest. He felt a chilling cold sensation on his chest as his breathing quickened. However, if one were to notice, his reaction remained passive, and his expression was unreadable at the moment. He did not resist at all and let the ghost enter his body. It was only after a minute when a shriek sounded out inside him. It was a miserable, agonizing shriek of a pig being slaughtered. What is this? This foul thing, how can this be? Why, you are not human. The old ghost, who was trying to forcefully possess Oliver a moment ago, was now viciously struggling as a strange dark reddish energy tried to devour him instead. The energy was foul and corrupted. It was not Aspera but something even deadlier. Oliver smiled in a saintly way as he innocently asked, "What's the matter? Aren't you going to possess me?" "Shut up. Who are you? You are not human. AAGH-. It hurts. It hurts." The old ghost sounded as if he was being tortured alive. His cries were agonizing and painful. Oliver sighed as he took a look inside, and he saw the reason for those shrieks. The abyss energy, which was naturally flowing inside him, had captured the ghost. It was slowly eating away the parts of the ghost, limb from limb, and as a result of being corrupted by this, the old ghost was experiencing the feeling of being skinned alive. A disturbing energy that could corrupt even the demons. The abyss was unfathomable, and the ghost also realized his situation painfully. He had just entered this human in order to possess him, but what he was met with was infinite depth, a true darkness with no seeming end. He traveled as much as he could, but he was unable to move past the darkness. He could not access the core of this human child. It was as if he was sinking into an abyss with no finite end. He felt like drowning, and before he knew it, a sharp pain assaulted his very being. It was as if something was forcefully trying to consume him bit by bit. The old ghost finally experienced the worst pain of his life if he could express it. No matter how much he tried to resist that force, he could not overcome it. He was shocked beyond belief. No matter how wounded or weak he was still a powerful demonic ghost. How could a mere human child with no noticeable power be able to restrict him? This kid was no human. He was something else, something forbidden. And when this realization settled within him, he restlessly adopted the only approach that could save his life. He started begging the human kid to spare him.